Hello everyone, this is Cherie. Welcome to Shelter in Place, Week 6. So as you can see, I got my masks last week. I got 10 of them for around $7. And I got a box of gloves as well at that compound place. All right, so a little update. I still have not received unemployment benefits yet. I sent them the information they requested in the mail, and I'm just waiting. But some good news. My friend sent me a $500 check to copy edit her novel, and I'm really excited about that because I've been I copy edited it before about 2 years ago, and now she's got like the final. And it's a really good story, and I hope she gets an agent. But anyway, I'm looking forward to reading it again. Also, I received a call from my company saying that all the furloughed employees can now be put back on payroll. So I will be receiving a check that will be directly deposited next Monday. So good news, regardless of the unemployment benefits, which are still TBA. All right, so let's get on to screenplays. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, written by William Goldman. William Goldman is a great, iconic screenwriter. He wrote a book, Adventures in the Screen Trade, which I recommend. It was really interesting reading this screenplay, which did win an Oscar for Best Original Screenplay. He is very descriptive and puts in things that aren't part of the action. And so that's something that we as screenwriters today are told not to do. So here's one example.
A man, idly walking around a corner of the building. He is Butch Cassidy and hard to pin down. 35 and bright, he has brown hair, but most people, if asked to describe him, would remember him blonde. He speaks well and quickly and has been all his life a leader of men. But if you asked him, he would be damned if he could tell you why.
Another interesting thing is how he set up the musical interlude sequence for the song Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head. And here's how he wrote that.
Musical interlude number 1. What we hear will not be a song like Bicycle Built for Two. The song will be poignant and pretty as hell. And like the songs, for example, in The Graduate, they will make an emotional comment on the scene, not a literal one. They will have an emotional connection with the scene, not a literal one.
So was it a good read? Yes, it was. It was interesting because it's kind of, I guess, a tragedy. These guys are anti-heroes, but they're really built up to be heroes. But I don't know if this is a spoiler or not. So spoiler alert, they die at the end. So, anyways, it was just kind of interesting because it felt a little anticlimactic as far as like character arcs and stuff like that. But it was a fun read. So anyway, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, fun read for a screenplay. The next screenplay, Casablanca. This is a classic, and there's a story that goes along with it. It was based on a play, which you can tell because it's very dialogue heavy. It could still make a great play today. But it was being written as it was being shot. And so they say this on the front page, and I'll show you that and what they say. Casablanca is just a lovely, lovely film. I loved reading this screenplay. I definitely recommend reading the screenplay for Casablanca if you want an example of a good screenplay. Movies. All right, so The Book Thief. This is the final DVD from the library that I had checked out. So now I'm just going to be watching streaming movies from here on out. But this was a great movie, The Book Thief. The cinematography was beautiful. And it's one of the very few movies, The Diary of Anne Frank and perhaps Mrs. Miniver, that has a female protagonist for a World War II film. So that was kind of interesting. And I loved it. You know, it made me cry at the end and everything. So if you like those kind of movies, if you like war movies, female protagonists, beautifully shot, a good story, you know, yeah. This is the kind of movie I like. This is the kind of movie I would like to write. I saw one on YouTube called Destination Wedding. Please remind me not to watch free YouTube movies anymore. This is the third one I've watched during this quarantine, and they're all just kind of mediocre, you know? So Destination Wedding starred Keanu Reeves and Winona Ryder, and oh my goodness, is it talky. It's artless. You know, the cinematography isn't great. The camera doesn't move. They are the only two characters. There's background characters like people at a wedding or at the reception. You know, they're just in the background though. All the dialogue is between these two main characters. It could make a play. After I finished watching it, I looked up the director, and he had actually written and directed for the old TV series Mad About You. So, you know, it was very much like a TV series, just because, you know, it wasn't cinematic, and, you know, it was banter, back and forth banter. Don't really recommend that one. Then I saw Equals, which starred Kristen Stewart and Nicholas Hoult, and I love him. I think he's great. And I really like Kristen Stewart too, but I didn't get any chemistry between them. So it was an interesting movie. It's about a dystopian utopia, and it's kind of parallels things like THX 1138, and then there was that one with Uma Thurman and that guy. I'll put it here. It's along the lines of those kind of movies. It's visually well shot, and I don't know, it was interesting. I liked it, but I just wish their chemistry had been better. Then I saw Hunt for the Wilder People, which is one of Taika Waititi's very first films, and that was just charming, and I definitely recommend it. I really like him. He's got a comic, just different sense of style than a lot of filmmakers, and so it's just really fun to watch his movies. I also saw Ishtar. Ishtar, when it came out, was pronounced one of the worst movies ever made. And it was a fiasco. To me, the chemistry again between Warren Beatty and Dustin Hoffman just did not work. Dustin Hoffman did a great job. Warren Beatty played against type, where he was kind of like the bumbler, and Dustin Hoffman was the ladies' man. Isabella Adjani was the female lead, and I loved her. I thought she did a great job. And it was refreshing that she didn't have to end up with either of the men, because that's such a trope in screenplays written by men. If there's a female character, she always has to end up with the lead. And so I'm glad that didn't happen. This was directed by a woman, by the way. It was okay. It wasn't the worst film ever made. It just didn't really connect. Finally, Spring Breakers, which had been on a bunch of people's lists. And perhaps if I got high, I might have liked it, but I don't. And I did not like the way it was edited. I did not like the story. I didn't know who we were supposed to be rooting for. Selena Gomez was one of the main characters, one of the main four girls that goes down to Florida for spring break and interacts with James Franco, who is a rapper / gangster, arms dealer person. And so her character is set up as this Christian moral person, and she goes down there, and so you think, well, maybe she's the protagonist and she's the voice of reason, and she leaves halfway through the movie. She goes back home. So I thought it was unfocused. Yeah, it just wasn't my thing. Also, it felt like it had a lot of improvisation. And being a screenwriter who likes very certain types of things, I don't like improvisation in film. So, yeah. And then finally, I wanted to show you a couple of things from my class. So this is the beginning video production class, and our first assignment was to go around and take pictures and try to get interesting shot compositions. So like maybe having foreground elements, middle ground and background, or try to have different angles and stuff like that. So I'll show you two shots. This first one is our neighbor's barn. And no, I don't live in the country, I live in the forest, but they have a really nice barn. So I tried to do the thing with the foreground element. I liked this picture, but the one that I ended up turning in is this picture. And you see it all like goes down at an angle towards the end. A woman with her shopping cart is coming out. Now that wasn't planned, she just happened to be there, so it just kind of made the shot. And I really liked the composition, the angles. The sun wasn't out, so I couldn't really get good shadows or lighting, but I liked this shot. And then this is the first video project that I turned in this week. The assignment was to make a story using a variety of shots and no more than 10 shots. So here is the video.
Thank you for helping us look out for each other during this time.
So that's it for this week. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you next week for week 7. Bye!